Oh my God, the Jets signed Peyton Manning as their general manager, and we're going to the Super Bowl! Not. Hi guys, welcome back to JetsHQ. I'm Howie. Thanks for joining me again. How many of you, by a show of hands, wanted that to be true? Huh? How many of you out there want Peyton Manning to be our general manager? Come on. It's not going to happen, folks. I mean, it's really sweet sounding and everything, but I mean, as good as a passer as Peyton Manning was, I don't really think we want an inexperienced former player, possible Hall of Fame quarterback, to be our general manager to lead the team. I don't think that he'd have any idea on how to do a transaction. So, to be honest with you, while it's a nice thought and it sure sounds really great in the short term, that's not too smart on the ownership's part if they were to do that. But I don't really think that Peyton Manning's interested in being our GM anyway, so thankfully we can put that out of our minds. Real quick, we'll get into that whole general manager list here very shortly, but I want to do a couple of things real quick. We're going to go over a couple of the most recent transactions the Jets had real quick. We'll just go over, clean up, catch up on our cupboard here. But first, I want to really thank one of the viewers out there, one of the subscribers, sent in a couple of pictures. I'll put them up here for you to take a look at while we're talking. This is from Chief Mike, and I really want to thank him very much for his contribution to the channel. He is an excellent Fu Manchu looking Joe Namath. So gave me a great idea. If any of you guys out there have any good pictures of yourselves, of anything Jets related that you think was really cool, please feel free to send them in to me. I'll try to put them up. If they're really good and I think everybody should get a look at them, we'll put them up for you. So, Chief Mike, thank you very much for your contribution. I really appreciate you being a good subscriber. And thank you for the great pictures, because Joe Namath is my favorite guy in the world, and you look good, so much appreciated. So anyway, now really quick, to the updating the moves that we've made over the last week. Nothing too huge. The Jets did sign unrestricted free agent Xavier Ubosi, and then they cut him right at the end of rookie minicamp, so he didn't even last the week. Not really worth much of a mention. The Jets did sign punter Matt Darr. Now he was an unrestricted free agent, and he came from the Bills in 2018. Actually, he played only a few games. I think he was picked up to replace their punter. It was Colton Schmidt that they had cut, and he got a few punts in for the remainder of the season. The end of the season, he got about 20 punts in. He downed 5 inside the 20, had 1 touchback, and his average was about 40.5 yards per punt, with a net of about 36.3 yards total after return. So not a bad punter. I mean, he's not the Ray guy, but he'll give Lachlan Edwards a little bit of a kick in the pants, keep him awake during training camp. And, I don't really think that Matt's going to make the team. He might be auditioning for another team, but at the very least, he'll give Lachlan a little bit of a run for his money. And as you know, the Jets really shook up their special teams, even their Pro Bowlers this offseason. So, hey, maybe he'll beat him out for the job. Who knows? But that was a punter signing that we had. Then we also cut Jordan Leggett, which was kind of expected after drafting Trevin Wesco. I guess they gave Trevin the look-see over at rookie minicamp, and once he basically fulfilled their expectations, then they were able to let Jordan Leggett go. Not much of a cap hit, just $141,000 against the cap this year. It was an expected move. So Trevin Wesco, welcome to the team. You are now our blocking tight end, so keep up the good work. I'm glad to see you're doing what you should be doing in rookie minicamp, so that's a good thing. Then we signed Deontay Thompson, wide receiver, kind of a journeyman wide receiver, not too terrible. He's 30 years old now. And he's heading down towards the downside of his career. He was a speedster, so he's He'll stretch the sidelines a little bit, but he's not very productive. He hasn't been, at least in his past years' career. He split time with Dallas and Buffalo last year. I think he had a total of 17 receptions, totaling less than 200 yards. So he did return some kicks. He might get a chance to take a look at kick returner. He had 6 kick returns for Dallas and averaged 24.5 yards on his return. So we might give him a look-see on special teams. And he might stick. You never know. We do have a bushel of wide receivers, but he is a known quantity. He does have some speed. We'll see what he does. All right, so that's the player personnel moves, and of course we know that we did make some moves with the GM. So Mike McCagnon has landed on the cut board, just like you guys had suggested, that you wanted to see his name on the cuts. Now, of course, I don't really have magnets for VPs and general managers, but I made them special for you guys because you requested it. You wanted to see him up there on the board. I guess it helps give you a little sense of satisfaction, and I'm glad to be there to provide that for you. So he's on there. Brian Heimerdinger also received his own special magnet placard to be placed under the cuts list for you people. So that's for you guys, my subscribers, who asked to see that. So there you go. All right, so now let's take a look at the general manager search, shall we? All right, now there's tons of names that are being bandied about as general manager candidates. I'm going to narrow it down to just 5 or 6 for now, until more guys come in and become bigger targets or become more talked about in the media, because we could talk about 15 or 20 general manager candidates and it just all get lost. But I think I've narrowed it down to about the top 6 that are out there right now. And we've eliminated the Peyton Manning and most ESPN analysts, Daniel Jeremiah and things like that. So we'll just deal with real, actual management executives here. So anyway, to start off with the number, I would say the number 6 GM candidate in my mind right now is Elliott Wolf. He's the Browns' assistant general manager, and he's the son of Packers' former general manager, Ron Wolf. So he's lived a life with general manager. He's grown up as under a general manager, quite a successful general manager. And being an assistant general manager over there at the Browns, they have done quite a number of good things over there, and I think that he's had a hand in a lot of it. He was passed over for the GM job for the Packers last year, but I think that since he was actually out there interviewing, and now he's been under John Dorsey, I think that this might be a really good fit for the Jets. He knows a lot of people. His dad knew a lot of people. He's well connected, and he's got a good football mind. So he's on the list. He's like my number 6 candidate right now. Okay, so my number 5 candidate currently is a man named Will McClay. And Will McClay is the current Cowboys Vice President of Player Personnel. Now, McClay has been a behind-the-scenes kind of guy, and up until recently, I don't think he's accepted any general manager interviews. Now, I don't know if he's been refused because Jerry Jones hasn't allowed it, but I'm pretty sure that he hasn't really wanted to go anywhere, so this one might be a tough one for the Jets to pull off. But McClay is really one of the keys to Dallas's drafting success. He's the one who found Dak Prescott. I think that he's been in the war room helping mastermind a lot of their drafts since 2014. So working for the Cowboys, he's a big name. General manager is probably the next logical step for him, and I think that the Jets' position being one of the more affluent, being in New York and having a lot of money to spend, and I think that this one might actually get him to come out of his foxhole and take an interview. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about Will McClay and see if the Jets get a chance to interview him and see what he's made of. So that's my number 5 man on the list there. Okay, so my number 4 man on the list is a gentleman by the name of Lance Newmark. Now, Lance Newmark is the Lions Director of Player Personnel. Now, Newmark has a long history of being with the Lions. He's been there since 1998. He's been in varying roles all the way back from college scouting, leading all the way up to player personnel. He's been involved in many drafts with the Lions, and he's done a lot of good things there. He's got an extensive scouting background. Now, one of the knocks against him is, or could be, that, well, the Lions haven't really turned much over in the draft, so if he's going to put his name on that, then that's one of the knocks against him. But he's become known in circles as a really, really good executive, a guy who really works well with other teams and can put deals together. He is a dollars guy, so there's that. I know we're not looking for John Idzik, but he does manage the cap well. So with his scouting background, I think that he's worked under Bob Quinn since 2017. So I think that he's one of the guys that's going to come up as a name for an interview, and he's in the middle of my list. So we'll see. We'll see if any interviews come from Mr. Lance Newmark. Okay, number 3 on the list is a guy named Champ Kelly. He works for the Bears. He's the assistant director of player personnel there. Now, he was previously the director of pro scouting, and he's been with Chicago for the last 5 seasons. Prior to that, he was with the Broncos, where his tenure overlapped with Adam Gase. He was with the Broncos from 2007 to 2014, and that overlapped with Gase being a Broncos assistant and the offensive coordinator. So he's gotten to know Adam Gase really well. They're good friends. I think that although Kelly hasn't been moved up to the full director of player personnel with the Bears, that's only a matter of time, and he might actually skip that whole step and go straight to general manager. I think his name is a hot name in a lot of circles, and if we were to get a chance to interview him, we might get pretty lucky with somebody like that. He's already a compatriot with our head coach, and B, he's got a lot of talent, and he's put together some pretty good teams. I don't think anybody would argue that the Von Miller group that came into the Broncos was anything but outstanding. And now the Bears getting Khalil Mack and things like that with him being over there. I would have to say that although I can't pin any of that success completely on Mr. Kelly, I can say that he was involved, obviously, as being assistant manager of player personnel. So he's somebody who would definitely want to talk to, pick the brain, and see what his thoughts are being a full general manager. So that's another one on our list. Okay, so now we come to our top 2. The number 2 prospect for the general manager position right now is Adam Peters. Adam Peters is the vice president of player personnel for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, Adam Peters is much like Mr. Kelly. He actually was Kelly's boss over there at the Broncos. So he also had some tenure that overlapped with Adam Gase. So he also knows our coach. He also gets along with him well, worked with him for about 7 seasons. He worked in college scouting with the Broncos. Eventually, he became the director of college scouting. John Lynch, who was over there, hired him as the vice president of player personnel. John Lynch was the general manager. So he comes with a lot of experience. And if we were thinking that Mr. Kelly was a good candidate for this, then obviously Peters, who was his superiors, is even more qualified. I think that from 2003 to 2008, he was also a scout. He was a scouting director with the Patriots. So there's that. To me that's a knock, but to most people that's a positive. I don't like to see anybody come over here with any kind of touch of the Patriots on it. But hey, that's just me. So Adam Peters looks really good experience-wise, and hopefully he'll get a chance to interview for the job. He might be an outstanding candidate. And that's my number 2. Then, of course, we come to the number 1 candidate right now, and it's the same one that everyone's been talking about. Joe Douglas, the Eagles Vice President of Player Personnel. Obviously an outstanding candidate. Immediately was thought of as our number 1 candidate. It's been a week. he's still our #1 candidate. We haven't heard from him. We haven't heard a response or anything like that. He's keeping very quiet, which is good. Normally when somebody doesn't want to interview for a job or doesn't want to be considered for a job, they immediately say, hey, I'm not going anywhere. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to hear anything about it. But he hasn't done that. He's kind of gone Twitter silent. Really, really good to see, because that means that he probably does want to interview for the job. And we would be extremely lucky to have a guy like Joe Douglas. He's built the Eagles from the ground up and won a Super Bowl with them. Outstanding with brand new quarterbacks. He's also quite close with Adam Gase. And we'll take a little bit of a look at his entire history here. So prior to 2000, he was just a scout with the Ravens. That's how he caught on. He came on as a scout, and then he became the Ravens player personnel assistant in 2000, from 2000 to 2002. Later, he became the Ravens college area scout from 2003 to 2011. Then he became college national scout 2015 to 2012 until 2015. Finally he moved to the Bears and became the Bears director of college scouting in 2015. And it was there that the Eagles plucked him really quick, and they grabbed him as the VP of player personnel in 2016. And the rest is history. You can see what the Eagles have become since then. So, and believe me, before that, they were a complete mess. Don't forget, Chip Kelly gutted them. And they were just floundering around, complete mess. And now we don't, I'm not saying that Joe Douglas is the sole reason that they are where they are today, or that he pulled them out single-handedly, but he sure did help fix that team and mold what they are today. So, really, really good candidate, and we'd be very lucky just to get him in the door for an interview. So anyway, guys, that's the update for today. I didn't want to go into more than just about 5 or 6 of these candidates, because it just can go on ad nauseum. It's pretty boring just talking about NFL executives and who we might actually interview. I think we'll do a lot more talking when we actually get somebody in the door for an interview. But I would really like to hear from you guys. Why don't you guys give me some comments? Let me know who you think would be a good candidate. If I mentioned any of the people here, if you want to rank them, how you feel that they are suited for the Jets job, or if there's anybody that we didn't talk about that you'd like me to talk about, or that you just want to mention as a possible candidate for us. And please don't say Peyton Manning. I would prefer not to sit here and talk about Peyton Manning's executive experience, because it's here. I got it right here. So, okay, in case you wanted to see it. Also, once again, I want to thank Chief Mike for those pictures, and all of you, please go ahead and send in pictures and ideas, cool things Jets related. I'd love to see them. I'll be glad to try to put them up in the video for you. And yeah. So anyway, also guys, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications so that you get the messages when my videos and live streams come out. Getting close to live streaming again. We'll be going very soon. OTAs started today, so we're getting more players into camp. It's starting to get exciting, and I just want to remind everybody that even though we had a little bit of a upheaval with the general manager position, that we have an extremely talented team. We have probably one of the best Jets teams on paper that we're going to put on the field in at least 5 years. So I want you guys to be excited about this team. This should be a 10-win team. We should be a playoff team. I want you guys to, not get down. You need to be energized. Don't let those other fans from other teams kick you around because we fired General Manager Mike McCagnon. That's just complete bullshit. We needed to fire him after that draft, and now we're going to be in a better place. So I want you guys to remember, stick tough, keep that chin up, and as always, let's go Jets.